The moment a stranger's lips crashed into hers, the music at the bachelorette party seemed to die, even though the speakers were still thundering. For one frozen heartbeat, all she could feel was shock, heat, and the strange familiarity of his touch. Glasses clinked, her friends screamed in surprise, and somewhere behind them the bride shouted her name, but none of it mattered. The world narrowed to the man holding her face as if he had known her his entire life. Lena stumbled back, breathless and furious, ready to slap him, when she finally saw his eyes. Gray. Soft. Terrified. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the music. "I had to." Before she could demand what that meant, a group of drunken men nearby laughed and one of them cursed loudly, muttering something ugly about taking turns. The stranger stepped in front of Lena instinctively, his body a shield. Only then did she realize he hadn't kissed her out of desire. He had kissed her to protect her. The party was being held in a crowded rooftop bar, a glittering sea of neon lights and half-drunk strangers. Lena had already been on edge all night. Her best friend Maya was getting married in a week, and Lena was supposed to be having the time of her life, but her own heart felt painfully hollow. 3 months earlier, she had walked away from the love of her life after discovering he had been keeping a secret from her. Since then, she had been pretending to be strong while quietly breaking inside. The men who had been making crude comments lost interest once they thought Lena was taken, and wandered off in search of easier targets. The stranger didn't move away right away. He looked at her with something close to apology in his eyes. "I saw them watching you," he said. "I know it was wrong, but it was the fastest way I could think of to get them to back off." Lena crossed her arms, trying to hide how much her hands were shaking. "You could have just said something." "They wouldn't have listened," he replied softly. "I've seen men like that before." There was a heaviness in his tone that made her pause. He wasn't a reckless flirt. He was someone who knew fear. Maya hurried over, concern written all over her face. "What happened?" "I saw some guy kissing you out of nowhere." Lena opened her mouth to explain, but the stranger spoke first. "I'm sorry," he said, meeting Maya's gaze. "Your friend was being harassed, and I panicked. I didn't mean any disrespect." Maya studied him for a moment, then looked at Lena. Lena nodded slowly. "He's telling the truth." Maya exhaled in relief. "Okay. Thank you for looking out for her." She squeezed Lena's hand before being pulled away again by the chaos of the party. The stranger offered a small, awkward smile. "I'm Aaron." "Lena," she replied, still trying to calm the strange mix of adrenaline and emotion racing through her. They stepped away from the noise to a quieter corner of the rooftop. The city stretched out beneath them, glowing with 1,000 lights, and for a moment it felt like the two of them were alone in the world. Aaron leaned against the railing, staring out at the skyline. "I'm not usually this impulsive," he admitted. "But I couldn't stand there and watch." "Why?" Lena asked. "Why did it matter so much to you?" He hesitated, then said, "My sister was assaulted at a party like this. Everyone saw her being uncomfortable. No one stepped in." His voice cracked. "I promised myself I never would be that person who looks away." Something inside Lena softened. She knew what it felt like to be invisible in pain. "I'm sorry," she whispered. They talked, first cautiously, then more openly, about their lives, their regrets, and the things they wished they had done differently. Lena found herself telling him about her breakup, about how she had left because she didn't know how to forgive. Aaron told her about the guilt he carried for not being there when his sister needed him most. The conversation felt natural, as if they were two old friends reconnecting rather than strangers who had met an hour ago. When the party started winding down, Maya came to find Lena. "We're heading out," she said, giving Aaron a curious look. "You okay?" "Yeah," Lena said, surprising herself with how true it felt. Outside, the night air was cool and quiet. Erin walked with Lena to the curb where her ride was waiting. There was an awkward pause, the kind that comes when something important is about to be said but neither person knows how to start. "I'm glad I kissed you," Erin said gently, even if it was under strange circumstances. "Not because of the kiss itself, but because it let me meet you." Lena smiled, her eyes stinging. "I think I needed someone to remind me that not everyone is careless with other people's hearts." They exchanged numbers, a simple act that felt like a promise. As Lena climbed into the car, she realized something had shifted inside her. She had come to the party feeling broken and alone, but she was leaving with a small, fragile hope. Weeks later, long after Maya's wedding had passed and life had begun to settle again, Lena met Erin for coffee. What started as a conversation turned into hours of laughter, honesty, and quiet understanding. They didn't rush into anything. They took their time, healing together in ways neither of them had expected. Lena never forgot that first kiss, not because it was romantic, but because it was brave. It was a moment when one person chose to protect another, even at the risk of being misunderstood. And from that unexpected act of courage, something beautiful was born. In the end, Lena realized that sometimes love doesn't arrive the way you imagine it will. Sometimes it crashes into you in the middle of a noisy room, wearing the face of a stranger, and leaves you with a heart that finally remembers how to hope again.